before the Carolina Hurricanes go on their mini 3-game West Coast trip, they will host the Pittsburgh Penguins on Thursday night as they look for their 8th straight win.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hot Couriers, where I also do a column on the Chicago Wolves called Wolves Weekly. I'm the co-host of the Searchcast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all of my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. It is another preview episode for your Carolina Hurricanes, as we'll be going over the Canes and Penguins game later tonight to finish off their current homestand. What are the 3 keys to the game, which we've been doing for pretty much every game now for previews, and then also who are going to be the players to watch going into tonight's game, especially for, most importantly, for your Hurricanes. But when we do all of that, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, like I said, the Carolina Hurricanes are hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. It's a 7 o'clock Eastern time start. It will be featured on FanDuel Sports Network South per usual, and on radio at 99.9 The Fan with the amazing Mike Maniscalco and Trip Tracy. Now, this is the second game of a 3-game season series between the two sides, where the Hurricanes did beat Pittsburgh back in October on the 18th, 4-1. That was kicking off their 6-game road trip where they went 5-1. And now in terms of the tail of the tape and looking at the team's stats overall, while the Pittsburgh Penguins are currently 5-7-2 and are, it's weird when you look at their record, but then you look at their team stats overall, you're kind of figuring, why is Pittsburgh the way they are? Well, when we get to the goals for and goals against, it'll start to make more sense. But if you look at their special teams, they're in the top 10, just like the Hurricanes. Now, in terms of the power play, Pittsburgh's at 22.5% compared to Carolina's 25%, with Pittsburgh in 10th and Carolina at 8th. In the penalty kill, Pittsburgh's actually better right now than the Hurricanes, 85.4 at 7th, while the Hurricanes are at 83.3 and in 9th in the penalty kill. So when you look at the special teams, it's pretty similar between both sides. And I think for the fact that Carolina has been giving up a lot of 5-on-3s recently and have given up, power play goals where you're going, 2 for 3, 1 for 3, you're on. It's one of those things where it's like the penalty kill is kind of dropping a little bit just because of the fact that you've given up a couple 5-on-3s as of late and have gotten bit on some of those. So it's one of those things where, you might go 75% or even 66%. That does drop you a little bit. So that's why you're kind of seeing a little bit of a dip for the Hurricanes, but still top 10 overall for both sides in terms of penalty kill and the power play. Face-off percentage, Pittsburgh at 53.8%, sitting in 5th in the NHL, where Carolina is 21st at 48.7%. Now, this is where you're seeing why is Pittsburgh struggling with the good special teams? This is where it's at. Their goals for per game, Pittsburgh sits 18th in the league at 2.93 goals per game. Now you would think, well, it's almost 3 a game. That's not terrible. It's, still somewhat close-ish to the top half of the league. The Carolina Hurricanes are averaging 4.09 goals per game, putting them 3rd in the NHL. Yeah, that kind of helps you. That's why you're on a 7-game winning streak, because of the fact that they are just absolutely shooting the lights out. And, when they are having, when the defense is pretty solid and goaltending is really good for you. Yeah, it's safe to say when you're scoring over 4 a game, you're having a good chance that you might be winning a lot of them more than losing, and that's why they're 9-2 after 11 games. And then the goals allowed per game, and of course, we talked about this with the Philadelphia Flyers. Theirs was pretty low too. like I said, numbers can say one thing, but you got to go play the games itself. While Carolina did win 4-1, still a little tight early on, but, they did win. But overall, the Pittsburgh Penguins, they've given up 3.71 goals per game, which puts them 29th in the league. And then the Hurricanes, while they're third in goals for, they're third in goals allowed as well, 2.45. So they're averaging over 4 a game while giving up less than 2.5 per game. Like I said, safe to say, if you're basically you're outscoring your opponents and basically keeping them off the scoreboard, generally the consensus is, yep, you're going to win more games than you lose. So that puts yourself in a good spot for the Carolina Hurricanes. But if you're in the Pittsburgh Penguins, that's a little tough coming into this game where you're like, they're struggling. They're when you're looking at a 5-7-2 record, and over the last 10 for Pittsburgh, I mean, you're 3-5-2. Kind of a tough stretch to be on, in the fact that in the middle of those 10 games, they were on a 6-game losing streak, which started with the Hurricanes and, of course, losing to Pittsburgh, Calgary in a shootout, then lost to Edmonton, Vancouver, and Minnesota. Talk about a tough West Coast trip for the Penguins, but they did pull out an overtime winner against Anaheim to get back in the win column, so at least they won something on that road trip. And then they beat the Montreal Canadiens, but then lost in another shootout, this time to the New York Islanders in their last game. So it's one of those things where the Pittsburgh Penguins right now are having a really struggle of a season. And of course, like I said, against Philadelphia, don't fall into the trap game, which we'll talk about, all of my keys of the game later on in the episode. But for the Carolina Hurricanes, that we all know, they're 9-1-0 in their last 10. They're on a 7-game winning streak going back from the Edmonton game, winning overtime, beat Calgary, Seattle, overtime win against Vancouver, absolutely smashed Boston on Halloween night 8-2, beat Philadelphia, and then just recently beat the Washington Capitals, and then recently beaten the Philadelphia Flyers in a 6-4 10-game goal burner, which was just an absolute craziness of a game. But overall, you're seeing a trend where the Penguins are struggling, but your Hurricanes are, like I said, on a 7-game winning streak, looking to go for number 8 before they go on the road trip, where they got Colorado Saturday, then they got Vegas, and then they're going to play in Utah for the first time as well. So if you're the Hurricanes and if you're the fans, Caniacs right now, you're feeling pretty good about yourselves going into this game, where looking at the stats, pill and kill is, pretty much the same. So, special pill and kill special teams is pretty much the same. You're looking at both these teams could put this game away if their special teams is really clicking for them, especially if it's a power play opportunities or penalty kill. So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. Of course, we'll talk about that later in the game, later in the episode. But just for the fact that you are on a better, I guess, wave of winning a lot of games compared to dropping a lot, like I said, anyone can beat anyone. And of course, when you got Sidney Crosby on the other side, you can't really overlook that. Now, right now, for the Pittsburgh Penguins, their top 5 point getters are Evgeny Malkin with 16 points in 14 games. 12 of them are assists. Sidney Crosby, 6 goals, 9 assists for 15 points. And then you got Ricardo Rakell, 6 goals and 11 points. Sitting a staggering +5, which is kind of crazy to think. Then you got Lars Eller, 4 goals, 7 points. And then you got Jesse Puljujarvi, former Carolina Hurricane, who's only played in 11 games so far for the Penguins this year, but is sitting 5th with 6 points. Now, in terms of their plus-minus, like I said, Ricardo Rakell's at a +5, Blake Lazat's at a +1, Evgeny Malkin's at even, and then it's a lot of negatives after that. So, not really great for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And in terms of, looking at their defense, you get Erik Karlsson, 8 points with 1 goal, -4. Matt Grzelcyk, it does have 7 points, but he's a -7. Chris Letang, -8 with 5 points. Goaltending, Alex Nedeljkovic, 2-2-2 with a .900 save percentage and a .276. Bloomquist, who the Hurricanes saw last time they faced each other, is 2-4 with a .909 and a .346. Goals against average. So right now, like I said, Pittsburgh is mightily struggling in a lot of facets of the game right now, and it's just something that's really working out for them. But stick around as we'll go over the Canes stats leaders and then also do my 3 keys to the game. So stick around as we'll go over that here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked on Hurricanes. Gametime is a new feature called Gametime Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you all incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And the good thing about that is it's not even just sports. It's also for concerts, comedy theaters, and so much more. Now, if you toggle their all-in pricing feature, well, this is where it shows you your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Now, the feature that I really like is their seat viewfinder, which gives you a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. So you don't have to worry about obstructed views or eye-card angles and stuff like that. It basically takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, and that's what you can do with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Well, it's game time. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked on Hurricanes, your team every day. So again, in segment 1, we're going to go over the Carolina Hurricanes stat leaders as of right now and then jump into the 3 keys of the game. Of course, it's no surprise for the forward core and just the team overall. Martin Necas does lead the team in points with 20 in his last 11 games. Of course, we all know he's on a massive heater with 7 multi-point games in his last 9. Andrei Svechnikov, 12 in points with 5 goals, 7 assists. But of course, you can't overlook Jack Roslovic having 7 goals in his first 11 games, which is just, you absolutely love to see for the fact that he had 9 goals in 59 games last season to having now 7 in his first 11. Hey, you know what they say, 7-11's always open. It seems like Jack Roslovic is doing that just right now with all the goals he's scoring. Now, in terms of the defense, Shane Gostisbehere does have 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists. But how about Dmitry Orlov coming on strong as of late, having a multi-goal game against the Washington Capitals, gives him 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points in his last 11 games. Puts him at a +9 on the Carolina Hurricanes overall, which is really good for the defense, with Jalen Chatfield at a +7, Sean Walker at a 5. And then you look at the forward core, you got Eric Robinson and Martin Necas both tied at +9. Jesperi Kotkaniemi at a +7 with 8 points on the season, and then Jury and Martinook with +5 respectively. And then looking at the goaltending, how about Pyotr Kochetkov as of late? The Capitals game was a bit of a wild one, but he's still 6-1-0 with an .878 save percentage and a 2.72 goals against average. Now, nothing you can really do when you're also playing the Philadelphia Flyers. You give up 4 goals, unfortunately, but not a lot of shots that he faced. So that's why when you look at save percentage, it's like, why is it below 9? Well, he's not really facing a lot of shots to begin with as well. So it's one of those things where if he does let in 3, maybe 4, but he's only facing like 19 shots, then your save percentage is going to be pretty low. But overall, still is a 2.72 goals against average and is 6-1 on the season. So relatively speaking, the stats don't really reflect of how he's been playing for the most part. It's just if you're not facing a lot of shots and you do give up some goals, what can you really do there? But the team is winning, so that's what really matters. Now, 3 keys to the game, and I think this is where it's going back to the Philadelphia Flyers game, don't fall into the trap game. Don't fall into the mistakes of overthinking that these guys are going to be a pushover. Yes, you beat them 4-1 in Pittsburgh. That was back in October. Of course, that did kick off your winning streak. but it's still Sidney Crosby. It's still Evgeny Malkin. Still Chris Letang. It's still one of those things where, yes, they've won 3 games in the last 10, but like I said, you don't want to get Crosby'd, especially on your last home game of the homestand where you already faced Washington, Philadelphia in the process. So, like, you're already on this is your 3rd straight Metro game. You've been playing really well. You want to keep the streak going. You want to get it to 8 games before you go on the road trip and face Colorado on Saturday. But I would not be looking at Colorado and overlooking Pittsburgh. Like I said, anyone can beat anyone, especially with Sidney Crosby, who loves to find ways to make games against the Penguins very tough if you're the Hurricanes. So for me, just don't fall into the trap once again, because this is a team, while Philadelphia had, Travis Konechny getting 4 points, you don't want to give Sidney Crosby the same exact thing, or even of getting Malkin. So like I said, don't fall into the trap if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. Another key to the game is, please do not keep this trend going. Do not go on another 5-on-3. You've done it for the last 2 games, and you've gotten bit the last 2 games. Don't take unnecessary penalties. Don't give them a good opportunity to go up on a 5-on-3 and man advantage, and then have them trying to find a way to stop that. Because, like I said, with the guys they have on that roster, the last thing you really want to do is give them more opportunities, because there's a lot of good guys on that side of the ice. While, yes, they are struggling overall, the last thing you want to do is give them opportunities. So, like I said, it kind of almost ties into the trap game. Don't fall into giving unnecessary penalties and putting yourself on a 5-on-3. Just try to limit penalties as much as you can. Try to keep more of the 5-on-5, because that's what you're good at. Stick to the 5-on-5 game and put yourself on the power play. Because right now, the penalty kill isn't the worst. It's still top 10 in the league, but the last thing, like I said, it's just one of those things you just don't want to do that. You want to stop this trend of 5-on-3s for the other team. You just don't want to do that, because now you're putting yourself into a bad spot, and now you're having the goalie having to do more extra than he needs to, because of now you have to worry about a lot more open ice for the other team. So yeah, try to limit your 5-on-3s as much as you can with unnecessary penalties. And all that ties into this: stick to your game. Stick to your game. That's all you need to do. You're scoring over 4 goals a game. When you're playing structured defense, you're shutting the other teams down to where they're only putting up 15, 16 shots a game. But don't give them high danger chances like you saw against Philadelphia, where they're finding ways to like poke pucks in between the legs of Kochekov, or having a guy like Morgan Frost all alone on the other side of the goal, where he can just put his he can put his skate on the ice and score on a random wild tap in. If you're playing your structured defense like you're supposed to be playing, do the transitional game, finding out, just sticking to your game that's been working for you for the last 7, then I think you have a good chance of putting up, win number 8. You're going to be 10-2 on the season, and then you're heading into a mini road trip where you got Colorado, Vegas, and Utah. Like I said, if you stick to that structured play that's been working for you, and taking your defense, moving the transition to the offense, and putting up high quality shots that you've been doing so far, yeah, they've been shooting at will, 36, 39 shots a game, but they're finding ways to make them high quality shots that we've seen from time to time, but not as consistent as what they've been doing so far. So if you're finding a way to stick to that, I think you're in a good spot to beat the Penguins, avoid another trap game. You win your 8th straight, and then you're going on the road to play Colorado. So for me, it's one of those things where it's just going back to through the 3 keys. You just have to not fall into the trap game. Don't give them extra 5-on-3 opportunities, or take a lot of penalties that you don't need to, especially against Crosby and those guys. And then, like I said, key number 3, stick to your game. Do what's been working. Hey, the lines haven't switched, so if it's not broke, don't fix. Stick to the winning streak, man. Just do what's been working for you, and make sure your structured game plays well in your favor. Now, with all that being said, we know who the 3 keys of the game are. We know who the stat leaders are, but we have to see which players we should be watching for your Carolina Hurricanes tonight when they play the Pittsburgh Penguins. So stick around, as I'll do that here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. The one thing I like about Indeed is the fact that you can upload your resume, upload your certificates. If you got a CDL, you can put that in there as well. And then you can actually put your search preferences of like how much you're making per hour, your salary, what type of schedule you're looking for. You can do all of that. And if you're an employer, once you keep putting your preferences in and what qualifications you're looking for, and then you keep working with Indeed to make that even better, well, by them leveraging over 104 million qualifications and preferences every day, by you adding yours and what you're looking for, well, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets to help you find quality candidates. So that being said, listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Once again, that is Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Well, you need Indeed. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, we talked about, the 3 keys of the game last segment, and then who should we be looking for in terms of players to watch for your Carolina Hurricanes. And I'm saving the obvious one for last because we all kind of know where this is going in terms of, who that guy is. But someone I really want to keep an eye on right now is Jack Roslovic. Scored in the last game against the Philadelphia Flyers. He's had 7 goals so far this season. His career best is 22. Last year he had only 9 goals. Like I've said earlier in the show and in previous episodes as well. 9-59 last year. He's already at 7-11. I think he has a really good shot of catching his career best of 22 that he had back in the 21-22 season with the Jackets. I think he has a great opportunity to hit, that number this season. I think he can hit 22 for sure. Like I said, he's already got 7. As long as he keeps playing his game on that line with Aho and Svechnikov, I don't see where he's not being able to do that. Because right now he's playing some great hockey. He's using his speed to help benefit him and adding his unique skill set with the line with Aho and Svechnikov. So as long as Roslovic keeps playing the way he is, I think he has a legitimately good shot of getting to that 22. But honestly, if he can get past the 10 really soon here, because like I said, he had 9 last year, that would be a huge boost for him as well. So that'd be really great to see Jack Roslovic find a way to score another goal to get his 8th tonight and just, keep the running he's been on as well. Now, another guy I want to keep an eye on, and we're going to move more so to the defensive side of the game, and that is Brent Burns. While he's had a lot of multi-point games as of late, a lot of them are assists. He's sitting on 5 points, which in terms of the defense has him third behind Gostisbehere at 9 and Orlov at 7. But Brent Burns has not scored a goal yet this season. He did kind of a little bit of a drop off last year in terms of points production for what we saw, 2 seasons ago, where, he's setting the, franchise record for points for a defenseman in one season. This is the last year of his deal. We don't know what's going to happen with him after that, but you're coming to the season thinking, okay, he's going to be your offensive stalwart for the defense, top line with Jacob Slavin. But it's a good thing that he's got Shane Gostisbehere kind of, picking that up for them overall, and then Dmitry Orlov is scoring as well. But for me, I kind of want to see Brent Burns get back onto the score sheet in terms of goals. While hey, the assists are great, you're loving to see that from him. He's been playing some pretty decent defense overall too. It doesn't seem like he's completely a step off like he was last year. It seems like he's gained some of that back, but I would like to see him scoring goals again, just so that way you're kind of having to lean on Orlov or even Chatfield or even Gostisbehere to score all your goals for your defense. Because when you look at an offensive defenseman like Brent Burns, you kind of want that to be the main thing for if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. So that's another guy I'm watching in terms of the defense. Is just hopefully you see Brent Burns kind of make a bounce back in terms of scoring goals and stuff like that and help out the team overall in that facet. Now, the last guy I want to focus on right now, and it's not really confirmed of who is going to be in net for your Carolina Hurricanes, but with all the games that are spread out this week, I want to be surprised if the Carolina Hurricanes go with Pierre Kachekov once again. Despite the 4 goals against Philadelphia, he did pretty well against Washington Capitals, giving him a couple goals. And like I said, he's 6-1 right now with a .878 save percentage and 2.72 goals against. Now, Spencer Martin hasn't played a game yet, even though he's been recalled by the Hurricanes, after Frederick Anderson's injury. But if you believe that Piotr is your goalie of the future, where Anderson's contract does end after this season, and you want Piotr to be your number 1 goaltender starting next year, this is a prime opportunity to see what he can do. And from what we've heard, if you give him a bulk of the games, he plays better and better. So I think this is your chance to see what he can do. And I think that, he's already played 2 games this week, but you are getting games. You're getting days off in between. There's not like back-to-backs where you're having to force to play the other goalie. I think if you're the Hurricanes, you give him Pittsburgh as well. You got the day off. You can think about what you would do against Colorado on Saturday. But if you're the Hurricanes, I think Piotr is your best person to put in net right now, just to be able to give you the opportunities needed to continue your winning streak, keep your keep the points going and stuff like that, and beat another Metro Division foe and setting yourself up on a nice road trip where you're 10-2-0 and you're on an 8-game winning streak. So for me, the other guy I'm looking forward to playing this game, if they do start him, is Pierre Kachekov. And believe me, I think he should be starting just because you want to ride with a hot goalie. And like I said, this is an opportunity where you're seeing what he can do with a bulk of playing rather than him being a backup to Frederick Anderson or a 1B type situation, or even if he's a 1A, but you're swapping off every other game like we were kind of seeing to start the year off. I think this is where you want to see what Pierre can do when he is going to be the guy pretty much every single game. So if he is playing, that's another guy I want to keep an eye on. So like I said, my guys that I want to keep an eye on for this game, for players to watch, you want to look at, Jack Roslovic, you want to look at Brent Burns, and you want to look at Pierre Kachekov. And of course, I did say there's a guy that we have to mention that's an automatic guarantee. While he's not part of the top 3, I think it's a given at this point. Martin Necas, 20 points, 7 goals. I mean, he's got 7 multi-point games in the last 9. Let's see him go 8 for 10 just because of an absolute heater that he's on right now. Because, like I said, sorry, Marty, you got to stay blonde until whenever this ends, which hopefully it doesn't, because you don't want to mess with the winning streak. So, honorable mention for player to watch, obviously Martin Necas, just because of this supernova hot that he's on right now. But guys, that will wrap up the Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. If you want to keep everything that I got going on, check me out at Podcast is _Hurricanes. I do link to in my bio, or you can find all of my articles at the Hockey Writers, and that's where you can find my author page. Or if you want to, just go to thehockeywriters.com. and just go to the Carolina Hurricanes section. You'll find all my articles over there. If you want to check out my other podcast, the Searchcast, just go to the Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, for podcast platforms, look up Locked On Hurricanes. Leave a 5-star rating and review, because if you do, I might just read on the show. On YouTube, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumbs up to let me know you like the show as well. And let me know what 3 players you're going to be watching tonight against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the comments below. Make sure to share with all other Caniacs who become everydayers just like you, because we are over 1,030 subscribers on the YouTube side of things. Let's keep this rolling to 2, 5, 10,000 subscribers even. Let's keep this train going. But I hope everyone enjoyed the Thursday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. I hope everyone enjoys their Thursday, and more specifically, hope everyone enjoys their Thursday night watching the Carolina Hurricanes face the Pittsburgh Penguins, where we're hoping that we see a 8th straight win and the team go 10-2-0 before they go on their road trip. But as always, guys, until next time, let's go Canes.